Good morning, and indeed all things are working for our good. Sometimes it may look like this is the end of the road, but I need you to understand that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Always, God is intentional about everything that happens in your life. Good morning, and welcome to the morning update on TV XYZ. Today we have varieties for you. We have tips for how to apply for a job. So if you have been thinking of how to put that CV together, we've got you covered on our tidbits. And then those of you who like to abuse cough mixtures, I know a couple of people who take cough mixture for every type of disease or every type of symptoms they start feeling. We also have tidbits on some of the side effects that you can experience if you have been abusing cough syrups. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Abna.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
I like how you're looking this morning.
Yes, I want to be relaxed.
Hey.
And I like your hair.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he will definitely chair the newspaper review. I'm always excited when I say that because he's always fired up for it. And also at 7 Wisdom, Hede Jome will give us details of some of the headlines that he and I will go through this morning.
Of course, I believe that a lot of people will be wondering how the conversation will go after what we witnessed in Parliament yesterday, the State of the Nation address. The President, as usual, talked about the achievements, and then he talked about the way forward. He was very optimistic. He called for national unity. He obviously patted himself on the back for a successful election. He claims that it's an endorsement of what they claimed at the time, 4 more for Nana to do more. And so Ghanaians have endorsed what he has done, and he believes that Ghana's economy is still resilient, irrespective of the COVID-19 and the challenges affecting revenue mobilization, raising funds, of course, execution of projects, because some of the appointees have said that COVID has slowed down the completion stages of some of the projects which are still hanging. And then, of course, he also says that it's about time we put our differences together and move forward. There were other things that unfolded in Parliament. I remember when Alban Bagwin decided to acknowledge some of the dignitaries there, you could see that both sides were fired up. Each side was suspicious of what any of them would do. And whatever happened, I believe that when Wisdom Hede Jome joins us, we'll recap some of the statements and the reaction on the floor of Parliament.
I didn't know how sarcastic our president can be, because then before he even said anything, he said that his his swearing in and him becoming the president was unanimously decided.
The word unanimous will come to stay.
It will.
It will go into the history books.
Yes.
And I believe that there was an embarrassing scene yesterday when the Chief Justice's name was mentioned. You could realize that there was booing from one side of the House. And so the Speaker of Parliament, conscious of the implications, mentioned the name again. And then you saw the majority side and the spontaneous reaction. A lot of Ghanaians are talking about all these things, but you ask yourself, and the question is simple, what are you taking away from the State of the Nation address? Is it still reflective of what we know, or there is a genuine commitment by both sides, if they're not going to just disagree, to look at the positives and go forward? And again, the minority leader made some intuitive statement. He made reference to the killings after the elections. It is just unfortunate. Personally, I feel that if you have a country and such an incident has happened before all Ghanaians, the international community observed it. And then 2 months on, 3 months on, the president has had the opportunity to address the state as a whole, either during his COVID-19 briefings or in Parliament before he was eventually sworn in. That's on the eve of January 7. And even yesterday, when he has heard all the discussions, all the demands, even some of his appointees who the NDC supporters thought must be punished for not bringing conclusion to that particular incident, having heard all these things, and eventually thanking Parliament for endorsing his appointees and still refusing to comment on it, sent a very strong signal to everybody. And so does it mean that tomorrow, if something happens to any member or group of MPP supporters, either deliberately or whichever way you want to, whichever adjective you want to use, shall we see the president commenting? So that selective approach to dealing with national issues, in my opinion, sank well when the minority leader raised it. Again, he also made reference to the issue about the closure of radio stations. I know it featured strongly at the appointments committee. We have heard, and I'm aware that there are engagements to get them opened. I would have thought that the president will use that platform to assure the public that, look, these are the things we want to do going forward, because we are talking about healing a nation. 64 years on, Ghana is even more polarized. And so if you have a country that is so much polarized, and with all the things that have happened, reflective of the Supreme Court, the EC, other state institutions, who will champion this cause? Start the cause. Let others come on board. That commitment, in my opinion, was missing. And that is what is even going to provoke people to react strongly. So that's my take.
Other things were also said, which we will discuss in our newspaper headlines. And I think the minority is very disappointed.
There's something I saw which is good. Agenda 111.
111, yes.
They're going to build over 100 district hospitals, targeting areas which don't have them. And then he also talks about 7 regional hospitals. And this, according to the president, is going to be the largest investment in the health sector. It's good to hear. We believe the commitment is there. We want to see it. If you have ever been to other parts of the country before where people have access to dilapidated structures serving as health centers, it's not the best. It's a national cake we are all sharing. Somebody must apportion them, and that, in my opinion, should be done with reference or priority to deprived areas.
Definitely. Now, speaking of national cakes or cakes that we are all sharing, I would like to introduce or reintroduce you to one of our sponsors, which is X Natural Mineral Water. And it's simply natural because it's naturally produced, no artificial additives to the water. It's what's the word? Is it crispy? Because I'm always very particular about it. Crispy or cripsy?
You go ahead. I don't want to create problems for myself.
It's crispy clean. So you should try it, and then you know that I'm not just bragging about it. It's one of the best that I have had on the market. But if you're thinking of distributing also, Eric, do you have the number?
Yes, I believe that they'll put, I can't remember it offhand.
So they'll put it on the screen.
It will be on the screen.
And
then
you can,
we'll share them.
Yes, definitely.
Of course.
Also, there is Health Alert Clinic. Again, if you have been feeling tired because you've been working throughout the week, go there for the best massage of your life. And I say this on authority. Eric has been receiving it. You see how refreshed he's looking. Or you can also call them on the numbers. Okay, I actually do have their number. So you call them on 0242 518893, or you call them on 0242 518865. Or you can also even go there for your ultra scan and also your laboratory services. They are open from Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they are located at the Medina Post Office behind the First Atlantic Bank. So you can easily locate them or even call them and get yourself treated with pure herbal medicine. Also, if you have been admiring my makeup, then it is simply natural from Black Secret.
Of course. That's why I also look very fresh, because I know where I was yesterday.
Hey, where are you yesterday?
I know where I was yesterday. But Obobia, I believe, is with us today, isn't it?
No.
Today is Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
I miss that lady. When she smiles, it just relaxes me.
And I like the way she talks.
And of course,
she's
a communicator.
Yes.
Obobia, tomorrow we want to hear you. We've missed you.
We would definitely.
On Mother's Day, she delivered a message, the challenge campaign. And I thought it went very far because I followed her on social media, on Ways or TV, TVXYZ, and I think it went very far. We want as many of such young, enterprising, very courageous women to continue the fight to empower women. We'll be taking a break. When we come back, I'll tell you how the papers are reporting the State of the Nation address. Welcome back. This is Morning Update on TVXYZ and Wezo TV. Join us early today because the nation is talking about the state of the nation. And I believe you understand what the First Nation is, which represents us, you and I. And the nation is country Ghana. I'm excited because there's a lot we can talk about. There's a lot we can take government on, and a lot we can begin to checkmate to ensure that these are met before 2024. The Ghanaian Times has on its front page 3 different headlines, all associated with the State of the Nation address. The banner headline says, Ghana card to be linked to 10 SIM passport and others. That's what President Akufo-Addo is assuring the nation. And then minority split over President's State of the Nation address. And then if you go to the back page of the paper, we have NBSSI interventions benefit 600,000 women entrepreneurs and businesses. An attrition rate of doctors in Upper West region worrying. So look at the front page of the Ghanaian Times. These are the headlines as they came. And then on the back page, we have the NBSSI story, which is talking about the COVID-19 support or relief fund, which has benefited 600,000 women. Abena, let me do the center spread. So the center spread has a picture of the minority side of the house, the president being ushered in to the venue where he delivered the State of the Nation address. And one big story on the right side, page 17 of the center spread, reflects what we just talked about.
Right.
Cheers, GS heckling characterized President's maiden State of the Nation address. So you see the cheers, GS heckling, and characterizing President's maiden State of the Nation address. Abdam.
Still on the State of the Nation's address, on the front page of the Daily Graphic, it says here that economy in good health. This is coming from President Akufo-Addo. You and I know whether this is true or not. Now, the minority is definitely disappointed with the president's address, and they are not failing to say that this is coming from Mr. Haruna Idrisu, the majority leader. The minority leader. And also here, yesterday we did a story about some students drowning in a pump, and their parents or families are out saying that we are saddened by our children's demise, which is a very sad story.
Yesterday we were making an effort to speak to two of the parents.
Right.
They are in the UK. So their 2 children were among those who died. And one of them is at SHS, one is a female at GHS. And he sent the pictures, and we are planning to talk to him. In fact, he closed work yesterday around 1 or 2 a.m. In UK. So that's almost the same time as now. We are making the effort. And if you listen to the narration of how they heard the news, you would understand how painful it is if you are closer to any of those parents who may have lost their kids. And I've seen a story associated to the deputy chief fisherman of APAM, who said the kids were doing things that angered the gods. And that is why it happened. I don't want to subscribe to these superstitions in as much as I respect them. And he made mention of this gay issues, and they were sodomizing or doing other things in the water. They were not there. If they were there, then they should have rescued the children.
Yes.
If they were not there and couldn't have rescued the children, they should not insult the parents who should be in misery by now that the gods are angry. Look, if we want to blame the devil for everything, I believe that even as we sit, the devil will be jubilating because I should be blaming you or you should be doing it to me. Let's face facts. Somebody erred. Unfortunately, 20 people got drowned. We are told 10 or 12 are dead. They are trying to look for even the parents of 2 bodies, which is very sad. Haven't found, which is very sad.
It is, but there is some good news. The Black Settlers under 20 did win something, and also President Akufo-Addo Dankwa has announced a package of $10,000 each for the players. I am definitely changing my career.
$10,000 is small.
I'm changing my career.
If only you can play football. We need women to get there and bring trophies. I want to talk about Daily Dispatch. On its front page, how 20 teenagers drowned at APAM. SONA 2021 focus on health sector, and Ajana Sari on men of God and integrity. KGL to release funds for payment wins. All these are captured on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. And we want to express our condolences to Kweku Bako. He lost his mother on the 6th of March. And the Daily Dispatch announces it on the front page. The back page says, please give account of how 20 teenagers drowned in a palm. Giving account when they were not there. I don't know whether it's hearsay or they are using magic. Abna, what do you have?
I have the Daily Post. Now it says here that NDC MPs walk into NPP trap. Also, it says that Volta Caucus supports couple who lost all 4 kids. We did that story. I interviewed the man, and we understand that he's still... Have you heard anything? Because I remember the woman saying they spoke to...
Yes, I followed up yesterday, and according to Gifativo, they have started making some... There's been some engagement with the police in particular, if they can get some understanding of what happened. They're not really going for any form of compensation, but they thought that it will bring them issue to closure. Yes. And that's what they intend to do. But their focus now is to see how they can assist this traumatized family to start life all over again. And in my opinion, I think that's a good effort. Yeah.
Quickly, yesterday, our president must have lied about a few things, and some we can say on authority because we actually did those stories here, which has to do with the tomato importation. Now, it says here that shockingly, Akufo-Addo lied again, that Ghana is not importing tomatoes. This is coming from Clement Apak. Now, remember we did a story about transporters of tomatoes from Burkina into the country who were being terrorized by robbers. So, did Burkina become part of Ghana recently?
See, I've heard the peasant farmers speak severally. I've heard the General Agricultural Workers Union. They are saying the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative is good. What government needs to do is to go beyond just distributing fertilizers, training more agric extension officers, encouraging people to go into large-scale community farming and let people be employed and then find farming attractive. Let them add value to the produce so that it will create additional jobs through the value chain. This has not been effectively done. But what I've seen the government do over the period is to consistently put an information in the minds of the public, thinking that it will sink. The reality is that, like you said, these tomato farmers just went on strike.
Yes.
It affected the price of the commodity on the market. It was published by media houses. Beyond that, the IGP, who is a member of the National Security Council, who should be part of those who give the president daily briefings, was on the road. He toured the 5 regions of the north. And the objective was to stop these highway robberies because what the tomato farmers talked about was that, look, we are now one big size of this industry, which is bringing in tomatoes. And they talked about 16 million cedis spent annually on such imports. So if the president comes again to tell us that we are not importing tomatoes, how should the public take it? But I believe
last week when we spoke to the PRO for police in the Ashanti region, Gordon Ahiano, he did mention that they have actually given them security. So there was police going with the transporters to and from. So anyways.
We'll be taking a break. Wisdom will join us with the news. You hear more from the State of the Nation address. And then after that, we'll be engaging some of our resource persons. You will know about that after the news.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Welcome back to the morning update on TVXYZ. My name is Nana Abena Sewa. It is right about the time where the man whose name shakes buildings give us, please, give us the details of the headlines we have discussed. Good morning, Wisdom.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you too?
I'm okay. I like your shirt.
Thank you.
What do you have for us this morning?
So I'll be telling you about the SONA. So President Akufo-Addo has delivered the statement to the nation. He says that Ejapa be back on the bill, and that's raising a lot of concerns that in spite of all the issues, why Ejapa again? He also says that he's developing a tough skin and that he's ready for criticism, and so people should just hold their peace. And then again, people are also raising questions. The minority leader Haruna Idrisu was asking why his statement didn't capture issues regarding the LGBTQI and other pertinent issues that were affecting the country. Then I'll be telling you about the budget statement which will be presented on Friday.
Take us away.
Let's start the bulletin from Parliament, where President Akufo-Addo says in spite of COVID-19 challenges and its impact on the economy, Ghana's economy is in good health and more attractive to investors. The president, who delivered his first State of the Nation address yesterday afternoon, commended the Supreme Court for affirming his re-election, describing the approval of ministers as further endorsement, assuring the public of more in his next 4 years. The State of the Nation address highlighted some macroeconomic indicators as clear reflection of both policies initiated during his first term. President Akufo-Addo also touted continuous payment of emolument and salaries regardless of the impact of COVID-19. Now, the president also, on project, the president said the 2021 budget statement will clearly spell out initiatives planned. He, however, singled out railway and health sector, where special attention will be given this year. This will include several regional hospitals and what he described as Agenda 111, the largest investment in healthcare since independence.
Waived income taxes on third-tier pension withdrawals and permitted the deduction of contributions and donations towards COVID-19 as allowable expenses for tax purposes. Mr. Speaker, my government found the resources to cushion the impact of the pandemic because we are good managers of the economy. And we are good protectors of the public purse.
The president also announced that the national ID cards will be used as tax identification numbers and SIT numbers this year. Again, he disclosed that the controversial Ejapa deal will be sent back to Parliament for consideration and hoped that Parliament will give it the needed attention and approval.
Speaker, let me at this point assure the House that in the course of this session of Parliament, government will come back to engage the House on the steps it intends to take on the future of the Ejapa transaction. Agreement.
On his achievement, the president made reference to the 1D1F planting for food and jobs, which he said has led to abundance of food, enhanced ambulance service delivery, attraction to investors in the automobile industry, and efforts to improve cocoa sector through close collaboration with Cote d'Ivoire.
A strategic partnership between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire has bound our two countries in even closer intimacy, especially in the cocoa sector. We have succeeded in aligning the cocoa production and marketing policies of the two countries and ensured that we do not continue to be victims or pawns of a global cocoa industry that is dependent on the toil and effort of our farmers.
So we shall bring you more on what the president said, but as expected, the House was divided on their initial remarks after the State of the Nation address yesterday. Now, while the NDC described the address as same old story full of deception, the NPP said the president promised hope and shall deliver on same.
Not at all. How unifying is it? How unifying is it? When he kept saying that the Supreme Court gave him a unanimous verdict. Whether a verdict is unanimous or not, it is the verdict of the Supreme Court. That for me was a divisive statement. The president should have seized the occasion to appeal to Ghanaians to unite in the aftermath of the Supreme Court verdict. But here is a president who says his verdict was unanimous, as opposed to a 5-4 verdict. That is divisive in itself.
Ghanaians sit down and talk about Rwanda. You can't get up and do what you like in Rwanda. We want to do what we like in this country and still think that we can be a civilized country. I think not. There are over 50 radio stations that are affiliated, more than 100, about 100 radio stations that are affiliated to the NDC. Because they are operating in accordance with the law, nobody has touched them. Nobody can touch them.
He touched on corruption in trying to tell you that the fight is with the institutions as mainstream. You should bear that in mind. The YOCO, the Special Public Prosecutor, SHRAJ, and the rest. So he is looking at institutions trying to do the fight up front. Because if you shepherd it as the upfront person, the same people come around and say that, look at him, he's hounding us. So in essence, he showed how institutional strength is superior to what will be like his personal fight, which will always be colored as fighting political opponents. So I do not think he ignored the issue of corruption.
What he failed to mention was that he inherited electricity coverage of 83%. The previous administration had increased it from about 50% to 83%. If in 4 years you added only 2%, what is the guarantee that in the next 4 years you'll be able to add 15% to ensure universal coverage in this country?
Now, still on the State of the Nation address, President Akufo-Addo says it's time to heal wounds and support his national development agenda. The president, who spent time on his re-election bid, said contrary to public perception, he is open and ready for criticism.
The Supreme Court, Mr. Speaker, for example, last week determined the challenge to the validity of the 2020 presidential election and affirmed its validity in a unanimous decision. Not 5-4, not 5-4, unanimous. Mr. Speaker, the court has spoken. It is time for all of us to move on and in a united manner confront the problems of post-COVID-19 Ghana.
Now, Minority Leader yesterday spoke directly to the conscience of the president, questioning his deliberate refusal to comment on the innocent lives who lost their lives during the 2020 elections. Mr. Haruna Idrisu also jabbed President Akufo-Addo for superintending on the continued closure of opposition radio stations and served notice the minority group is ready to take on government if it returns to controversial Ejapadio.
The President, Nana Addo Dankwa, is here, has discharged his constitutional obligation that knock Ajapa back with no comment on LGBTQ and no comment on uninvestigated killings on December 7th, whilst we'll continue in the debate to remind him that we'll seek justice for Tajuddin Al-Hassan and Abdallah Ayarik. Now, Speaker, what is interesting is that we will debate the state of the nation and we'll debate the present record. But today, interestingly, he is silent on our national debt. 4 years ago, he said, I inherited this debt. What is the state of our national debt? With this, Mr. Speaker, my task is a simple one, is to second the motion for adjournment. But as he himself said, he contributed to enhancing media freedom with the repeal of the criminal libel law. But under his watch, freedom of expression have been fractured and hampered with the closure of FM stations that are NDC approved. I beg to second the motion, Mr.
Haruna Idrisu there. So while the majority members of parliament remained calm through the presentation of the State of the Nation address, the ADC MPs were up to something. There is more in this full report.
The reaction by both sides of the House was anticipated, though the House was largely quiet as the President presented the State of the Nation address. The last few minutes before he left Parliament witnessed perhaps controversies. Majority MPs clad in white were ready to counter any bad press, and this is how it happened when the minority group sang this song signifying what the President had said was full of lies. They appear to have drowned the event as Nana Akufo-Addo and dignitaries present listened, but the NPP MPs will not leave that go. Then came the mentioning of names. This is how the Chief Justice was acknowledged by one side of the House in what appeared to be boos.
Honorable members,
not too sure, the Speaker called for it again, and this time NPP MPs responded.
Justice Enim Yeboah, the Chief Justice of the Republic, is also here with us.
The Speaker, Alban Bagbin, was careful this time with the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's wife's name. He got it right, but the NDC MPs were waiting for the mischief.
Her Excellency Hajia Mrs. Samira Ramadan Bawumia. Members, I don't know which of you has a girlfriend called Ramatu.
And after the back and forth display of placards and counter reaction by the majority side, the speaker finally asserted his authority, and as he stood, all became quiet for proceedings to end. The House resumes sitting this morning.
Still on that State of the Nation address, and Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu has expressed disappointment in Nana Akufo-Addo after he failed to speak to some critical national issues. He addressed the parliamentary press corps after proceedings yesterday.
Disappointing that he became president because security agencies had to shoot in excess and there were loss of lives. He must show sympathy to the affected families. No mention of it is being made by him as Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. We expect an investigation into those killings, families compensated, and officers who went above board in the law are punished. So it's disappointing that he was silent on that. There are many issues. I heard him talk about 2 billion cedis, and then pensions. There's a problem with pension. Government owes in respect of pension, so you people must ask them to come clear on how they intend to pay outstanding arrears in respect of second-tier pensions.
And now, with 2 days to the presentation of the 2021 budget statement, government is close to securing €5 billion to support the initiative.
According to a statement issued on Tuesday, March 9 by the Ministry of Finance, Ghana is close to sealing a deal with the Bank of America, Citibank, Rand Merchant Bank, Standard Chartered Bank and Standard Bank as lead managers to help raise the $5 billion to finance the 2021 budget. According to the statement, the instrument will consist of Eurobonds, diaspora bonds, sustainable bonds and syndicated or bridge loans. The decision to raise the amount from the international capital market funding program comes in the wake of concerns about Ghana's public debt, which according to rating agency Moody's 2021 Sub-Saharan African Outlook report is fast closing into 80% of GDP. Financial analysts are projecting difficult times ahead as revenue continues to drop, while pressure mounts for the settlement of outstanding debts. Business executive and corporate strategist Joe Jackson, who is also head of business operation, Delax Finance, strongly shares same view.
COVID-19 has devastated the economy of this country. You need more revenue. You need to borrow more because right now we are flat broke. Anybody who thinks otherwise is living in la-la land.
Rating agency Fitch has already hinted the over $1.8 billion indebtedness to independent power producers is a key risk to Ghana's post-pandemic debt trajectory. Fitch, which recently affirmed Ghana's sovereign rating at B stable, says public debt will plateau at about 75% of GDP from 2024. That is if the expected gradual recovery, both in economic performance and fiscal revenue, is sustained. It, however, says government has no alternative and debt will continue to rise in 2021 and 2022 due to high pandemic-related spending and the realization of energy sector liabilities. Expectations are high and the investment community will keenly monitor policies to be spelled out in the 2021 budget statement to be presented by the Majority Leader of Parliament, Osei Kyei-Mensah Bonsu, this Friday.
And before we go, sachet water producers have announced a price increase effective March 15. And so if that is your sole source of treated water, then brace yourself more.
Next time sachet water producers increased prices of the commodity was in November 2018. The association said the increase from 3 Ghana cedis to 3 cedi 50 pesos per bag was necessitated by the rising cost of production and distribution. But that was never implemented following the backlash from a large section of the public. Few days ago, a public notice was served about another upward adjustment effective this week. But the National Association of Sachet and Packaged Water Producers has issued a statement correcting what it describes as anomalies in the recent announcement. Though the fresh statement has nothing new, President of the association Magnus Nono says sachet water business operators, especially those who freeze them for sale, can now implement the new price. He said, among other things, that retailers can now implement the 30 pesos per sachet as announced 2 weeks ago. By this new directive, S-track price or retail from distribution tracks shall sell at 3 cedis 50 pesos, while a bulk of 200 bags and above shall go for a depot price at 3 cedis. The National Association of Sachet and Packaged Water Producers is, however, notifying the public that a bag containing 30 pieces could sell between 4 cedi 50 pesos and 6 cedis on the open market or retail shops and mats. It further urged the public to check for the FDA number when in doubt to be assured of quality.
And that'll be it for this morning's edition of News in Brief on Morning Update. As always, do log on to myxyzonline.com for more. My name is Weston Hedejame. Abena, over to you.
The incident which happened at APAM and update.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys?
Yeah. Always drink fresh, natural, mix, mineral, water.
Still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Kofi na saying habama to me saya dear bia and ankametina homa me yadie yakumie.
Oh, na den. Health Alert Clinic dear. Yadin habama any organic product in kwa and a saya dear.
Be money or ba a won waya modene. Wonko Health Alert Clinic.
Health Alert Clinic dear. Say ye bema wintimi mo adwuma yi. Menstrual disorder, hypertension, anasa enam yadie STDs. Wo do some yadie bia. Ye betene te e de amount. Wasanso ye massaging, any physiotherapy. Omo wo diagnostic machines. Di hwehwe ni pediem. Sanso na ultra scan.
Health Alert Organic Shop on so honumwa organic products and kwa and a womoto honum. Shisha ye chakwan. Ewo Madina Post Office. Ye wo First Atlantic Bank no echi honumwa. Ewo Encry.
Freyen. Ewo 0242 518893 and now 0242 518865. Health Alert Clinic. Go Heba.
Welcome back to the morning update. We have gotten to the social segment. I'm a bit down because we are going to delve deep into the incident that has happened in APAM, which has killed a lot of children. Now, this is what apparently one most unthinkable day, which happens to be over the weekend. About 40 children went to APAM Beach to have some form of entertainment, and some of these children have lost their lives to the sea. Now, from all the news items I have read, what I deduced is the fact that some of the fishmongers and even some of the members of the community knew about their Sunday swimming. So the question is, what did they do about it? Because at this point, the government had come out to say that there shouldn't be any form of social gathering. So if they knew they were constantly going, what did they do? Did they report the matter or they didn't? We know that people are hot. The MCE is hot. Even the police commander in that district is also very hot. We need somebody, when things like this happen, we have to blame someone. Who do we blame? Do we blame the parents? Because according to some of the parents, they did actually see their children going out and didn't even ask questions. Others also said the children said they were going to play football and they didn't even follow up until the incident was reported and they had to go and identify the bodies. I can only sit here and speak my mind, but we'll be talking to NADMO to find out if so far there have been any updates, if they have recovered more bodies than have been reported. But before I do that, I do have some pictures of 2 of the children that drowned whose parents are in the UK. Now, the father actually went first and later the mother joined, and this is the news that they hear after trying to put something together to give these children a better life. This is a sad story. It's a really sad story. Even though we couldn't get them, the parents in the UK, to talk about it, there are some parents who said something quickly. One of them did say that she saw the daughter leaving and said nothing, but regardless, she cannot take the news and doesn't even know how to express it. Miss Achre also says, and I quote, "I cannot take the news of the death of my son. It is very difficult for me to hold back my tears since I have lost a strong pillar." All I can say to these mothers is that we are very sorry for your loss and hope that God sees you through this. But we have this morning on the line Mr. George A.C. Boateng. He is the communications director for NADMO, and we will be talking to him with regards to what has happened and what is being done so far. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
How did you take the news, sir? I'm fine, thank you.
Can you come again?
So I was asking how you took that. We all woke up to this news item, and I know that I was very disheartened about it. What was your initial expression when you heard the story?
Yeah, very unfortunate. It was very worrying that we'll have such number of children, young people losing their lives this way. Yeah. It was very disheartening, very worrying to us at NADMO. And fortunately, yesterday, our Central Regional Director and the District Director of the PAM and their team engaged the police and then the community leaders on the way forward. And so they've had discussions and agreed that this morning a team will patrol the beach again to see whether there are still some children whose bodies were not recovered. And I understand sometimes the sea brings them on shore, the bodies to the shore, so that when you go there, you'll be able to see such bodies washed to the seashore. So that's what this morning our team will be doing to see whether additional bodies will be brought there. Otherwise, the number we have is the 12 that are dead and the 2 survivors as of yesterday night when we were about to sleep.
Right. Now, have you been able to visit the families, any at all?
Yes, the regional director and his team met some of the families, and the full identification of the bodies is yet to be concluded. And so that is what they did. And today they'll be going back to the community to continue with that and they commiserate with the families as well. And so we are working in tandem with the police and the community leadership, especially the chiefs, on this matter. Right. It's unfortunate, it's worrying, and it's very sad.
Right. Now, quickly, you did mention earlier that you have put a team out there who will be searching. How long are you going to search for?
Yeah, according to the people, the tradition of the area with this drowning issue is that sometimes within a day, 2 or maximum 3 bodies are washed to the shore. And so for the next 3 days, they'll be engaged in that to see whether anybody will be washed to the shore. This morning, they started it. And so we're seeing within the next 3 days, if you don't get it, then it's likely you don't have any such bodies.
Incidents have been avoided.
Could it have been avoided? Yes and no. You know what? The police were patrolling the beaches because of the government directive that no beach life should be going, especially fun at the beaches. And so the children decided to use a bush path to go to a place where it's not safe for swimming, and so the police don't even go to that area because it's not safe for swimming, and nobody even goes to swim in those areas. Unfortunately, they decided to go have that, and they used unapproved or bush path to that place, and then decided to be swimming. There are some mystical things I've heard, which I wouldn't want to talk about, if indeed it's so. But that place wasn't safe for swimming. If you live around the beaches or you go to the beaches, you see that some areas are very rocky and deep, and the canoes do not even park there, and it's not safe for funfair and swimming and others. And unfortunately, these children decided to go use that area rather, which brought this calamity and the number of fatalities that we've recorded. Yes, it could have been avoided if the children had gone to the area where normally they do have beach fanfares. That way, the police would have been there to say, hey, no, go back home and go have other way of fun instead of coming to swim in the sea. But that didn't happen. So, and you spoke about parents. Yes, when the children are going out sometimes, I understand somewhere even in the boarding house, I had to run to that place to do that fun. In that case, a parent will not be aware of that. It's the school system that should have been in the know. And so, and some of our children, when they are going out to see their friends, we allow them that, yes, they go have fun with their friends. But maybe he's going to a friend, didn't say they're going to the beach. And it happens that way. So we should be more careful with our children and where they go. After some time, we need to make follow-ups to see whether they are still there at where they said they were going. It's very important.
I agree with you on that. But also, what I am seeing with regards to the news items that I have been reading is with the fact that this looks like an organized incident, an organized fanfare, and something they have been doing, because apparently they have been having Sunday swimmings, and so people in the community knew about it. So have they mentioned why they didn't report at all, or even try to do something to stop the children from going there prior to this?
Yeah, for my reports, yes, they were going to have fun. That's what I indicated earlier. As to whether the parents should have stopped them, I cannot delve into that. But what my report says is that they were indeed organized young people going to have something like a party, a beach party, to swim and to have fun. Could we have stopped it? Difficult, because they used, my officer used the word bestowed through the bush. I'm using it advisedly. And so once they were trying to do that act on the blind side of everybody, because they know there's a sanction on going to the beach. The kids knew that. That's how they used a different route to a place that is not normally or usually used for such activities. And so, yes, no, parents couldn't have stopped them because they didn't know they were going to go there.
Right. Now,
if it were the normal times that your kids would take their beach wears and they will say, Daddy, Mommy, we're going to the beach to have fun, the parent then knows. Because this one, I'm minded to believe they wouldn't even tell parents they're going to any beach, because they know the parents are aware that there's a ban on going to swim at the beach. They would have stopped them. So the kids wouldn't have told them. It's organized. It's a party. But all of them were aware of the consequences if their parents knew that's where they were going.
Right. Now, from also what you have said, it means that you had prior knowledge of the fact that where they are swimming wasn't safe areas. Now, we also know that one of the core mandates of NADMO is to prevent disaster. So as an institution, what could you have done to prevent this?
Oh, okay. To have prevented that would have been difficult because normally the NADMO officers in the community, the assembly and co, they all know that area, that particular area is not a safe place for swimming and nobody goes there. And so it's a surprise that the case, because there's a ban and the police patrol the usual places, they were trying to do it on the blind side of the police and nobody could get them. And so it will be difficult. But what it is that NADMO going forward will have to put some danger signs in such places. Danger signs in such places so that the case would have been won. The moment they got there, they would have seen such danger signs that it's not safe to swim in these areas. Maybe because of the rocky nature of the area or because the place is deep or the waves are very swift in those areas. We need to give signals in such areas going forward. And so we're going to task our officers going forward to do such things.
All right. Now, how soon would this be done before you leave us?
Oh, no, we are yet to get the full reports. When the report comes, definitely we're going to make the recommendations going forward and task our officers along the coast to do that.
Briefly, the rains are coming in. How prepared is NADMO for this?
We've always been prepared, but some of these days they overwhelm us, and we need to, when they're about to set in, definitely government is going to go on to do some dredging of some of the drains and to help hold enough water to minimize the effect of the flooding on communities downstream. So, yes, we'll go ahead with the usual dredging. Assemblies will do it, and other agencies engaged by the Ministry of Works and Housing and Co. So, will be ready and prepared to receive and welcome the rains. But because of our built nature of Accra and other major cities, we cannot say there's not going to be flood. There will be, but we are ready to see how we can help support, save lives and properties as much as possible.
All right. Thank you, George, for talking to us this morning. You have been very helpful.
You're welcome, my sister.
Please have a good day, sir. We were talking to the communications director for NADMO, Mr. George Ayisi Boateng, who has given us some updates and what they will be doing going forward to prevent issues like this from happening. Now, before the show started, or before we got into the nitty-gritties of the show, I did mention that if you have been looking for a job, and so you're trying to put your CV together and don't know what to do, we have got you covered. We'll take our tidbits on that, and we'll be right back for our newspaper review.
Ifo kra na menyisika. Edia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia. Edia tre medjuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre. Mi busia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodoɔ bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, ekuokuo abosia, susu account, ɛne daso wɔ hɔ savings account, mebada chain savings account, ɛne de akeka ho. Hwɛ Suhum Rural Bank wɔ 034229186. Na wɔn nso wetumi aka sɛ
Suhum Rural Bank ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank entime pa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys?
Yeah. Always drink fresh, natural mix, mineral water.
Still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Good morning, and thanks for staying with us. This morning update, TVXYZ Wezo TV, it's now time for a review of the big stories in the newspapers. I believe today the major story that is trending is the State of the Nation address, several angles, the positives and the negatives. But before that, a friend of mine celebrated his birthday yesterday, and I forgot. I call him Gideon, but I know the other name is Anku. He's a cameraman. He's one of the best NAFTI students. I'll show his picture later today, and you see that gentleman. He has been the brain behind the beautiful shots you see here in the studio. Happy birthday, Gideon. I can assure you that by the close of day today, you'll get your favorite. That's rice water and kose. I'll make sure you get it. And I know many of your fans on social media will start chasing you. Dr. Clementa Park, MPs for Bursa South, is one of my guests on the show today. And Nana Bediako Dansa Apia is a member of the NPP's communication team, will also be with us. Before I introduce them formally, I want us to have the flavor of Parliament, which is captured in this brief report, which reflected the position of the minority and the majority. They will always disagree. And as the Ghanaian Times put it, majority-minority split over the President's State of the Nation address. But this particular report captures the tail end, the jeering and the booing and the ramatus and so on. Just watch. The reaction by both sides of the House was anticipated, though the House was largely quiet as the President presented the State of the Nation address the last few minutes before he left Parliament witnessed perhaps controversies. Majority MPs clad in white were ready to counter any bad press, and this is how it happened when the minority group sang this song signifying what the president had said was full of lies. They appear to have drowned the event as Nana Akufo-Addo and dignitaries present listened, but the NPP MPs will not leave that go. Then came the mentioning of names. This is how the Chief Justice was acknowledged by one side of the House in what appeared to be boos.
Honorable members.
Not too sure, the Speaker called for it again, and this time NPP MPs responded.
Justice Enim Yebua, the Chief Justice of the Republic, is also here with us.
The Speaker, Alban Bagbin, was careful this time with the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's wife's name. He got it right, but the NDC MPs were waiting for the mischief.
Her Excellency Hajia Mrs. Samira Ramadan Bawumia. Honorable members, I don't know which of you has a girlfriend called Ramatu.
And after the back and forth, display of placards and counter-reaction by the majority side, the Speaker finally asserted his authority. And as he stood, all became quiet for proceedings to end. The House resumes sitting this morning. Welcome back. This is TVXYZ. This is Wezo TV, Facebook, YouTube, on your digital TV channels. And of course, if you have a TV which has a facility to receive some of these images on satellite, you are also cool to watch us from your home, in your car, in your office, in your hotel, and just call friends to follow us. 0556 999 999 is the number. I've told you that Nana Bediako Dansapia, a member of the NPP communication team, is joining us on the show. But already here is Dr. Clement Apak. Doc, you are welcome.
Thank you, Eric. And let me say good morning to viewers across the country, and to commend you for the good work that you have commenced, continuation of your good works. We thank the good Lord for granting us mercies to be here to discuss matters that concern the nation.
So let's start. I'll take your opening remarks because the president spoke about a number of issues. He gave a reflection of the state of the economy and says that in spite of the COVID and the impact, it was still resilient and very attractive to the investment community. He spoke to issues about the just ended election petition case. And of course, if I were him, I should be very happy to announce that my presidency has been affirmed by a Supreme Court through a unanimous decision. That also featured strongly. He talked about the need for the country to bury differences and move forward in unison to help develop. He also talked about few initiatives. For example, in the health sector, he mentioned Agenda 111, which will include 100 district hospitals, 7 regional hospitals. He talked about some initiatives he started before 2020 elections, 1 district, 1 factory, planting for food and jobs. You remember he made reference to tomatoes, and you were quoted as saying it was a lie. He also talked about several other issues in the roads, in the railways, and so on and so forth. So in summary, he gave, in his opinion, or what his advisors wrote for him, the state of the nation. I believe that the reactions have been varied. Because you represent the minority side of the House, I cannot say or repeat what they have already told the public in reaction. Let me take your initial remarks. Did you expect the president to say anything beyond what we heard yesterday?
Well,
that is before his arrival.
Yeah, let me say again that I appreciate this opportunity. And it's important to state that what the president did yesterday is mandated. He's compelled to undertake that activity, if you like, an exercise, by virtue of the laws of the land. And so he had to do it whether he liked it or not. He had no option, he had no choice. But as to whether he presented the true state of the nation or not is subject to debate. Because most of the issues that you have highlighted as having been captured in the presentation given to the people of Ghana as required by law through their representatives, through them, have a lot of question marks assigned to them. First of all, if we take the issue of the president trying to, call us to rally as a unified nation for a common purpose to develop Ghana, vis-a-vis the content of what he presented, the way he presented it, and some of his choice of words, clearly, they are in direct opposition. Because, you cannot give with the left hand and take back with the right hand. Anyone who has done an independent analysis of the content can come to the conclusion that on almost every issue, the president was taking jabs at his political opponents. At the same time, anyone who observed the conduct, behavior, and outward demonstration from both the majority group and the minority group will come to the conclusion that we have a more divided Ghana today than ever before. It was clear in terms of the commentary, the heckling, the songs, and what have you, on almost every issue. And that should tell you the challenge that we have. Unfortunately, the president, by his posture, his conduct, and his pronouncements, has not helped in terms of trying to bring the nation together.
These are your opening remarks, but let's go a little deeper into the reference to comments or jabs and so on. What specifically have you heard that, in your opinion, is provocative rather than reconciliatory?
Well, if you listen to him in terms of his pronouncements about policies, proposals, and programs that I would say are a carryover from the failed attempt to fulfill them in the previous 4 years. Clearly, you can see that those issues portend for division and entrenchment.
If it's a fact,
for example.
How can Ejapa heal the nation?
Everybody knows that.
Well,
he should. Why would he be mentioning a deal, a program, an arrangement that was so divisive that even led to the resignation of a special prosecutor, for which questions are still hanging around? Why do you have to bring that back?
Okay,
so frontally.
Doc, just hold it. We'll be listening to some of the MPs and their reaction. When we return after this short or these short tapes, Nana Bediako Dansa Apia will join us. Then we can begin the debate. What Doc is saying is just to Obibeka say or Prapra Kwemu, if that's how, if my tree is correct. And so let's listen to Harun Edrisu, Eslousu, and possibly Nana, that's Atachia, at which time Nana Bediako Dasa Apia would have seated, and then we continue our conversation.
We can do that. We bring healthcare closer to the people, and it helps us to fight the pandemic. Drones are being used to deliver the vaccines in hard-to-reach areas. All these were uses to which people hadn't even anticipated that with drone technology we could do that, but it is happening. When the Open University becomes operational, and we're working with the Ministry of Education to ensure that it does, the free SHS graduates who may not get admission to physical lectures can also work remotely, and we're working with all universities to ensure that all public universities have a learning management system which will enable them to deliver their lessons virtually. And so once we look at the many ways in which technology can impact upon our lives and enhance the quality of life that we're enjoying now, I can't help but be more excited at the possibilities, and to pray that the good Lord will grant us the wisdom, the health, the strength, and the resources that we need, and the goodwill from the Ghanaian people to enable us implement all these measures.
Do these things that I've mentioned reflect in the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian? When we go
that we think it's always been there. When you send and receive money from mobile money across networks, thank Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We are the first country in Africa to make that happen. But we do it, it's commonplace, so we think, oh, it's normal. It's the vision of one man who was determined to use technology to formalize our economy that has made it possible. Now you can pay for goods and services without physical cash, and that's enhancing our ability to transact businesses across sectors, across the geographical divide. It's because of the president's vision. And so there are many ways in which the lives of ordinary people have been impacted. You use Uber, don't you? Yes, it's because we have a digital address system that works. That's made it possible for us to use all these electronic modes of transacting business. And
I do not think he stated anything out of order. Here is a man who has been challenged by the opposition that he was not the president. He's been affirmed by the entire Supreme Court that he's the president. It's worth making it part of the State of the Nation address. I don't see anything divisive about it. And I think we should move on and realize that he was affirming that now I am the president by the Supreme Court. What is next? Work, deliveries, and the rest of it. So I think we should see it from that perspective and move on.
So you think, and they are also saying he didn't speak anything about our national...
So welcome back. Obeka said, cut pants down. This is TVXYZ. This is Wezo TV. Nana Bediako Dansa Apia has joined us in the studio. Nana, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
You are looking fresh.
Oh, I'm grateful.
Thanks to Almighty.
Sure.
I don't see stress on your face.
Oh, why should there be stress on my face? There shouldn't be stress. I don't see the reason why there should be that stress or something.
Yes, I just want to hear you.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
So Nana will be joining Dr. Clement Park. Nana, before you joined us, I'm sure you may have been listening to Dr. Park. I took his opening remark, and in summary, he said what the president did yesterday didn't signify a leader who was ready to help the nation to unite. This was his opening remark. I want to take something briefly from you, then we can go into the address itself and the details.
All right. But Eric, first of all, the point is this. I wasn't expecting anything different from what Honorable Clement Park submitted. You understand? But the fact is this. He is making mention of the fact that he didn't see the president's speech uniting the country or something. But what was the conduct of the minority in parliament? Totally despicable and appalling. I have to be honest with you. I don't know whether you watched it or you were there when the Chief Justice was...
We played the tape. I'm sure at that time you were being mic'd, and we saw what happened, and the public have followed us, so they know.
You see, it is totally... I don't know the word to use, but the fact still remains there at this. When the NDCs have, from time immemorial, have demonstrated that in terms of the judiciary, they have a problem with the judiciary. You see, when you have the head of your legal, the NDC's legal team, is it, what's his name, Amaliba, make statement to the effect that they were going to prove this case beyond reasonable doubt. A civil suit where the burden of proof or the burden of persuasion or preponderance, it's what? Preponderance of what? Probabilities. It is only in criminal cases where one could prove a case beyond reasonable doubt. When it comes to civil suit, it's preponderance of probability. And you take matters to court and you are thrown out of court. Then you come back and blame people. You understand what I'm saying?
Reflective of one section of the Ghanaian populace who are demonstrating their disappointment because on the other side, we heard the majority, for example, singing, we thank you, thanking him for what?
We thank who for what?
When the Chief Justice's name was mentioned again, I'm sure you saw the majority side. They sang a song, which was in acknowledgement of what he had delivered. And the president may have also stoked that controversy with his opening remarks as far as the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice is concerned. And so, couldn't it have been a reason for this unfortunate reaction you are describing?
With the greatest of respect, I don't know, but I just want to ask you this very question. Are you saying for a fact that when the Chief Justice's name was mentioned, you heard the majority saying thank you? Is that what you are saying? Because
that's what I am saying. And let me just recollect facts as they unfolded. You'd realize that the Chief Justice's name was mentioned. There was booing from the side of the minority.
Yes.
The Speaker of Parliament mentioned the name again, and there was a reaction from the majority side.
Yes.
They were singing.
I'm
sure you heard the song.
Thank you.
That is what I'm referring to.
The fact is this. When the man's name was mentioned first, the kind of booing or hooting which was meted out to this
Chief Justice.
I had the privilege of being taught by him, that is civil procedure at the Ghana School of Law. You get it? And this man discharges his duties professionally. There are times he tells us that one of the things as a judge is this, where someone will take your ruling or your judgment, and those ruling or judgment does not commensurate with the position of the law, and those decisions are overturned. So you being the judge, there are times you sit down there, and the only thing you could ask yourself is this: did I ever do, or did I do my work as a judge correctly? You get it? So the point is this: where somebody is booed out or what is rooted out from nowhere, where did this thing start from? We've never seen this nature before. This kind of thing, we've never seen it in our political discourse other than what we saw in Parliament yesterday. Honorable was making mention of the fact that the country is divisive, or like there's division in the country. I don't see that. The only thing that I see is in his political party, where a communication officer could just attack the Speaker of Parliament, attack the leadership of their party in Parliament.
I'm just waiting for him to land, and then we'll begin the conversation.
You made mention of the fact that the country is divided. So I'm only pointing out to you that the only division we see in this country is that which is in your party.
I like the issue.
You see, we can go on that tangent. You understand? So my brother.
Okay, so if you can wrap up, then we can walk into the debate, because obviously this issue about unity will feature in our discussion.
You see, my brother, let us be clear on this thing. There's this precedent that has been set. There's no way, no matter what it is, where this relative to the constitutional provisions, where Parliament has the power of contempt. You call me, I won't come. I'm being honest with you. You call me, yes, for maybe you cite me for contempt, and I won't come.
Are you talking to Parliament?
I'm talking to Parliament. Where you have a communication officer attacking the integrity of the leadership, you have members of Parliament. No, I'm coming. You have members. Honorable, please. Please. You are talking about division in the country, and I'm also making mention of this thing. Where you could hoot at a Chief Justice. No. I'm coming.
We are to discuss SONA.
Okay. Doc,
the commentary given by the president to the nation.
Doc, I am running the show.
Very well.
I have given you space
so
to
give all of us the
remarks. And so...
I just want us to set the ground rules clearly.
Yeah, the ground rules are that we are discussing SONA.
Very good.
In the discussion of SONA, he's making an additional comment. That is a point he has. I want him to land on that.
I wouldn't interfere.
So the point is, members of Parliament could just hoot at a Chief Justice. And it's like nothing can be done, or nobody does anything to them. Then you cite me for contempt and you think I would appear. You have your communication officer attacking the integrity of Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament. So and it's like anybody could go. So I can also do the same thing.
All right. So
you get it. And I will also walk away free.
I'm sure when you get there, they will also handle it appropriately so that we don't take the discussion into that terrain. But now we want to look at the State of the Nation address. Doc, I gave you the first opportunity. Now, I want you to go into that address and bring out what you see as the positives and the negatives. I'll give you some few minutes to speak uninterrupted, and then I'll do same for Nana Bediako.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, Eric, I think that it is always important that we put things in perspective. And
so just to be fair to all, let me announce the ground rules that I'll give you 10 minutes uninterrupted. You take 10 minutes uninterrupted before we start the debate.
You granted us the leave to make our initial observations. And you also gave us discretion. And we have exercised that discretion. And I want to apologize to him for interrupting. But you are the host. And I am not to decide the way the parameters should be, so to speak. You know, it's not in my nature to do so. Now let's talk about the State of the Nation's address. He is right about one thing that he said, that my open comments he had expected and anticipated. Rightly so, because I come here with my own idiosyncrasies. I'm informed, prepared by what I know, how I know them, how I perceive them, and my networks and the information that I get, which may be different from where he is coming from. So we would always agree to disagree, and that is perfectly acceptable. Because if we're all singing from the same hymnal, you wouldn't have us here. The program will become monotonous, otherwise even boring. But to speak about the State of the Nation's address, our position is very clear, as I indicated earlier. And I'll give you specifics about why we believe that the president missed out on a lot of opportunities to speak about what we believe are the real issues that occupy the attention of Ghanaians. First of all, the issue of LGBTQI is one that has occupied the attention of Ghanaians from all across, from all faiths. And so we are expected, as our leader mentioned briefly, to signal the way the debate is going to go, that the president would have seized this singular and unique opportunity, addressing the nation with international media present, with a diplomatic corps that we believe could even be conduits to promote this unhealthy, unacceptable, aberrant cultural sexual behavior in this country. What prevented him from stating emphatically, addressing the nation, that this type of behavior, this type of conduct, which is against our laws, which is against our culture, which is against our faiths, which is against our traditions, which is against our norms, is reprehensible, not tolerant, will never be accepted, and he would initiate processes to get a law passed in parliament, as countries like Uganda and Nigeria and others have done, to criminalize it once and for all, so that there is no room for any more advocacy to try and promote what we all find objectionable in our country. He failed to do that. The other thing that worries us, that we believe if he had done, at least would have shown that he was serious in trying to reconcile the nation, was the deaths of some 8 Ghanaian citizens and many others who have been named, emanating from the election that we challenged, for which he was gloating about of having been affirmed by the Supreme Court as having won. Lives were lost. Not in the history of the Fourth Republic have we ever conducted an election where people have died, where a 14-year-old girl who had not even reached voting age, her only crime was to have gone to a collation center to observe. Today is no longer with us. And the president saw no need to talk about this, to indicate to the nation how unacceptable, how criminal, how abhorrent such reckless use of our security agencies was and still is, and what measures he is putting in place as the father of the nation to bring the perpetrators of these dastardly acts to justice. He didn't mention it, even for nothing at all. At least sympathize with the families which have lost loved ones. The president didn't deem that to be important. Rather, he was much more exuberant in telling us about the Ejapa deal, which was clearly a setup to enrich friends and family, which was rejected by Ghanaians. A deal that brought about the resignation of the first ever special prosecutor appointed by himself, who did his analysis and came to the conclusion that that deal was unwholesome, it was corrupt, and was asking for those who put that together to be held accountable. The president was more interested in telling us Ghanaians through the People's Assembly that he was going to bring back the Ejapa deal. Indeed, you cannot expect people to feel reconciled when blood has been spilled needlessly, and yet a president addresses the nation and he does not even sympathize with the loss of lives and doesn't give an indication about what he was going to do to address that. And Eric, you are a member of the media fraternity. The president was very quick.
And just to remind you, you have 3 minutes.
Very well. The issues are many, but the president was very quick to remind us and Ghanaians about the role he played as then Attorney General and a previous MPP government led by the former President John Agyekum Kufuor to repeal the criminal libel law. Well and good. But we also know that under his 4-year tenure, which has been renewed in the context that many of us still find questionable, and I must admit that he had given us the best environment. And we know that under his tenure, radio stations have been shut down, special radio stations that were seen to be in opposition to his party and his ideology when he's now Minister for Communication and Digitization, was being questioned by the Parliament's Appointments Committee. She was found wanting. She claimed not to have known what the National Communication Authority did. And when she was presented with evidence to show that other radio stations had even committed much more grievous infractions and yet were allowed to operate vis-a-vis those that were shut down, she said she was not in charge of the day-to-day management of the National Communication Authority, an agency under her. And look, who doesn't know that under Akufo-Addo, a journalist renowned and known to be part of the famous globally recognized Tiger Eye investigative team, was gunned down and killed in broad daylight. And as we are speaking, nobody has been held accountable. Before that dastardly act was committed, a known financier, a guru, somebody who carries a lot of weight in the MPP, a member of parliament, had publicly stated and used his own media to accuse, identify, and expose the slain journalists. And as we speak, no action.
You have 30 seconds.
And many other members of the media fraternity have suffered injustices, being arrested for making what I would consider innocuous comments, being harassed for exposing corruption at the office of the president itself. And yet, the president says that we should applaud and clap for him, because since he took over in the area of free speech, we have seen an upliftment. How can that be possible? How do you expect us to rally behind you when these are obvious facts known to every single Ghanaian, and you try to play the ostrich? If for nothing at all, the president ought to have been honest and straightforward in admitting his shortfalls, because he is no longer a virgin president. He has a history.
So you have 30 seconds more.
We have a standard on the basis of which we are going to judge him. Now, of course, the issues of his decision not to mention the national debt, the CD dollar ratio.
We'll come to that.
So many issues.
The idea is that 10 minutes as your opening remarks and summary, then the next 30 minutes we go into the details. So
the point I'm making is that there was a lot that was expected.
Yes, obviously we have about 40 minutes plus. He has 10 minutes to deliver uninterrupted. Nana?
Okay. I would also want to limit myself in the areas where Honorable dealt, that is the LGBTI, the death of journalists, and the closure of some radio station. Eric, to be honest with you, I come from a school of thought that believes in this principle, that a nation that has no history, that nation is not worth dying for. There's a need for us to educate or inform Ghanaians as to what the state of Ghana was then and what the state of Ghana is now. And when you do that, what our brothers from the other side of the political divide do say is that, are you trying to equalize or something? Now, in as much as I do share in the pain, I would want to take it from the death of the alleged death of the 8 Ghanaians who died during the 2020 election. In as much as I do share in the pain of like let's say the family members who lost the lives of these young people, as Honorable even made mention of the fact that there was this 14-year-old girl who had gone to at least be part of the process or to observe whatever was going on. And brother, every death counts in this very country. And it shouldn't be the issue that some deaths are of a matter of importance to others. I don't know whether this gentleman, Michael Infum Sapon, who happens to be the XYZ regional correspondent for TIN, like I think TIN is in the Bronx Half region or something.
Tyne
or something. Yes, Tyne. I don't know whether Michael Infum is still working with you. That is,
it's not the staff here.
Oh, okay. But I'll refer you to the Ghana Web. And it's on the 5th day of November 2013, by which time His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was the president of this republic. And whether or not we ever heard in his speech that there was this man, this Saikwa chief who was assassinated in Teng, whether or not during his speech he made mention of the man, that is Nana Jima Ankwana or something. You see, the double standards of the people we are working with or like building the nation with. I would also refer you to a reporter in the Goso area who was apparently reporting on this, if you quite remember, this cocoa, this corruption within this cocoa area or something, the smuggling of the cocoa.
To Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah, to Côte d'Ivoire. The gentleman was working with Peace FM. And when you check graphic online, the death was on the 12th September 2015. The report was by Kwame Esiedu Mafu. Reporter shot dead at Goso. In 2015, we had His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as the president of this republic. The smuggling of cocoa within those areas, was it reported or did he tell Ghanaians those death or like reported to Ghanaians that there was a reporter working on this smuggling of cocoa to Côte d'Ivoire? Was there anything of that nature in his State of the Nation's address? Now, what I know is that, and I stand to be corrected, Honorable, but I know he comes from the 3 northern regions, or like, let's say, now we have
among
about 4.
The 5.
Yeah, okay, among the 5. We have the Bimbila chief who was killed. He was killed somewhere around 2014. And the report is June 21st, 2014. The story was by Zakaria Al-Hassan, Ghana Web. In the speech, or when His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was reporting to Ghanaians about the state of Ghana, he ever made mention of the Bimbila chief being murdered? You see, let us stop this kind of politics we do in this very country. You understand what I'm saying? Now, let me go to the closure of these radio stations. If you quite remember, there was this 30-page document that the National Communication Authority, this press conference that they made, and later on they published this 30-page document, to the extent that I think they listed about 131 FM stations. Notable amongst them was this Capital FM, and I think, was it Love FM? This Peace FM station in Kumasi.
Is it Hello?
Hello FM. You remember Hello FM even went off for, I think, about a period for, was it 2 weeks or 3 weeks, for non-payment of, or the renewal of license. Even in law, and I refer you to the case of Henry Nwete Kabu versus Francis Amusa, to the effect that where a lawyer issues a writ in the name of a client, and that lawyer does not state his license number or his license has expired, that writ is deemed as what, defective. You cannot. They will throw it out of court. Radio Gold was operating for 17 years without a renewal of their license. It was in that report. Let us do good to ourselves. In fact, if Radio Gold had even paid, maybe, let's say the renewal was 100 Ghana cedis a month, couldn't we have gotten about 1,700 Ghana cedis that we could use for some development in some area? What are we doing to ourselves? Because Radio Gold is a pro NDC FM station, so they could just go on and do whatever they like. Is that what Honorable is telling us? Is that what the NDC is telling us? Honorable Haruna Idris, you were by then the communication minister. What did he do? What did he do under his watch? During the time Radio Gold was operating without a license. In there, I remember even, I think Radio XYZ or something, you guys were owing, if I'm not, I think you're owing about 4 million Ghana cedi or something.
We're not owing 4 million.
Yeah, so how much were you owing? But I knew you guys were owing. But what the minister sought to do was to...
I don't want to interrupt, but if I give you 30 seconds in addition, I will add it. If I took it out, I'll add it.
I hear
for
my
information.
Okay.
I have a personal interest. We're not owing. What happened was that we had not renewed our licenses, and it had expired for about 6 months at the time government or NCA was taking that decision.
Okay.
Later, the NCA came out with a list that because you have defied each day that you have not renewed your license, your fine is 10,000.
Yes.
So they multiplied by the number of days at the time they were taking the decision.
Okay.
So it reflected almost about 400 days because they notified us around April. Then, you know, there was back and forth, and later they came out with that list.
Okay.
So that was what appeared as if Radio Gold was owing 40 or were owing 4 million.
Okay.
I've taken 1 minute out.
Right.
I'm sure I'll give it to you.
My brother, was it by the time the NCA was taking those decisions, did they take those decisions in line with law, or it was just like a practice direction or something? I just want to ask you. It was in line with the principles of what law. It was there where the person fails to renew its license or something, you are surcharged, or there was this amount of money that you needed to pay. And we have an FM station that operated for 17 years under our watch. We have the minority leader bringing this thing on the floor of Parliament.
Okay, so just to remind you, you have 5 minutes.
Good.
Okay.
So the minority leader now comes out to suggest to the whole country and those of the, how do you call it, the international community, that the president was against or is against free speech in this very country. Now, my mind went on to something. You remember the Ghana News Agency gentleman who was part of His Excellency President Mahama's press call, who died during, I think he died
on that's the Michelle Camp Aflao stretch.
Yes.
Just around the Afenya or those areas.
Yes.
There was an accident.
Okay. You remember what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama told us when they visited? I said told us because he told the whole country when he visited the family of that young lady, to the effect that he, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, was going to take care of the family. You remember? And the young lady's child, or the young man who had died's child. Remember recently this lady came out to indicate that nothing of that nature did happen. You see, now let me go on to this LGBTIQ plus, or this madness in this very country. From the word go, Ghana, we have Muslims, we have Christians, we have traditional religion, and we have other, let's say we have, it's more or less like these three religions or something. Every section or every sector of this particular religion or what have you is against this LGBTI thing. Christians are against it. Muslims, they even abhor that thing. They don't even want to hear that name. Same goes to the traditional religion. We lived in this very country when His Excellency Atamios made mention of the fact that under his watch, nothing of this nature would be seen, or he would give in the licenses for them to operate, or for them to like have the leisure, or for them to have the free will to do whatever they want to. Recently, His Excellency Ekufuado, he went to, I think, one of these churches or something. He made mention of the same thing. But let me tell you the double standards, or like I want to avert your minds to this. After His Excellency Atamios made mention of this nature, this thing, What did we see? We had a whole vice president in the name of His Excellency Mahama. What did we see? The world-renowned gay, world-acclaimed gay. We saw him. There were these pictures flying all over him. And even with that, the NPP never made noise about this thing. You understand what I'm saying? When I was making, he made mention of the fact that there should be, the president should have initiated law to decriminalize this particular thing. Fine. Under your watch. You just left government. What did you do? From 2009, right now to 2016, because it did happen during your time. If you had initiated this law or this bill in Parliament for it to be passed on to law, you wouldn't be here doing or saying all these things. So the fact still remains. If we want to build Ghana, let us take out the politics out.
That's around 1 minute left, so yes. Just to prompt you so that you can land.
Let us take these politicking and having to do politics with every issue in this very country. That is my take. Because honestly, in all fairness, when we are to go on the state of the nation as delivered by the government, have you seen the intake of these people in the tertiary? It has increased from 18% to, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think about 23 or 40 something. And clearly you can see that by that same extension, you could see that the growth of every country is linked with education.
Okay. All right. So that's the opening remark from Gideon Bediako Dansa Apia. He's a member of the NPP communication team. Nana Bediako Dansa Apia. And so those are the opening remarks. I'm told we have Jonathan Ochre on the line. Sorry. I'll speak to him briefly and then I'll come back to you. So just bear with me, Doc. I know you have some reaction. Jonathan, good morning and thanks for joining us from Cape Coast.
Good morning, Eric.
Yeah, we will take just about 4 minutes from you because you know you have a tight schedule lecturing. Yesterday, the president spoke about several things. In many people's mind, one issue that will continue to dominate our discourse is his call for unity. In summary, how would you describe his presentation, the positives and the negatives?
I would generally say that the speech was not unifying and was not reconciliatory either. I dare say that the president was just appropriating and reprobating at the same time. Last year or so, when he had opportunity to do the State of the Nation, I think it was this year, I think for the 2020. So he started by talking about 2017, what he inherited. Now you talk about this year, you are in the 5th year of your reign as president, and then you still talk about when you took over, the economy was in a mess and other things. And you think that your opponent that you're asking them to come onto the table will come. I mean, you ask yourself, you spoke about debt that you inherited, but your debt as it stands now, you are not telling us about your debt. I mean, you cannot appropriate and reprobate. And so I think that in general terms, the speech was not unifying, neither was it reconciliatory.
Okay, Jonathan, so the president talked about policies. He talked about the health sector, projects that he hopes to initiate. He talked about the railway sector, projects ongoing, where they are, and how to add value to our transport sector. He made reference to the year of roads, that it will continue. Of course, he also spoke about agriculture and said tomato, for example, we have stopped importing them like other foodstuff under the initiative. And so there were areas where he talked about fiscal policies, he talked about projects he hopes to initiate. And of course, he also patted himself on the back that, look, his endorsement is a reflection of how well he delivered before 2020, and he's in there for 4 more years to do more.
Well, Eric, you have added so many things. I think that there's nothing like endorsement for his another 4-year term. If he is so inclined to think so, well, it is. I think that what transpired in the 2020 elections, it's not something that you can call an endorsement. The second term, it is not. You shouldn't even talk about that. We know the kind of things that happened at the Supreme Court. I mean, the Supreme Court was too legalistic tomorrow. So you ask somebody who is in the public office tomorrow, is embezzle funds, and you say that the person says, well, I have every liberty not to testify against myself. What would the Supreme Court do or say? You lay such a very bad foundation, and you think that there is not going to be any future. I think the least we talk about that particular thing that the president said, the better. General Secretary, Ghana Agricultural Workers Union.
Agricultural Workers Union.
Yes. I mean, what he's saying is that what the president is saying is not supported by any evidence or data on the ground, because that is not the case. Because trading has always been between those at the borders. You cannot call that as something that they've been doing at Libo, at Aflao, at Burkina, and all those places. Don't forget that just quite recently, because people were being attacked security-wise, those who are transporting tomatoes from Burkina Faso, how can somebody who is a net exporter of food in this country is importing or is encouraging tomatoes to come from Burkina Faso? I think that the president should accord some kind of common sense, because I think that he's just been insulting our intelligence, and it's not good.
So Jonathan,
it's not good for him.
So Jonathan, you don't have much time. I'll give you 1 more minute. Going forward, how should the posture be? Government, Parliament, all of us. 1 minute, sir.
Well, I think we ought to all come on board and support whoever is given the mandate to ensure that Ghana becomes a success. That is something that if tomorrow we say that we don't like the current president or the party in power and want to change, so be it. But we all have to bring our hands on deck and ensure that we work for the betterment of the country. But as it stands now, I think that things are not right. And what the president is doing is something that we all have to be interested, because on the ground, things are not done right. You did not even tell us your debt portfolio, which is almost 300 billion. As of December, it was 297 billion. We are in March. What is our debt portfolio? You didn't tell us. Look at the CD to dollar ratio. Look at the CD to the pound. That tells you, that explains the reason why we are having skyrocketed prices of commodities on our market. You understand? Look at the prices of foodstuffs. Everything the person even said that price of meat has more than doubled as of last year to this year.
Okay.
So I don't know who is writing the speech of the president. And to count it all, we expected that, having gone through court and other things, you rub it in by saying that, well, it's a unanimous decision. It is not like the 5-4. For Christ's sake, we have a Chief Justice who did not allow the various justices to write their own judgment, so that we can look at it from individual perspective, so that at the end of the day, even if they are all playing the same football, there will be some kind of diverse views from one person to the other. We did not have that, and you are talking about reconciliation, and you're rubbing it in. I think that ought to do. You have to elevate his politics for all of us to follow.
Yeah, Jonathan, I can feel your disappointment. You are a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Thanks for your input as far as this conversation is concerned. Okay, so I don't know where to start. Dr. Apak was supposed to speak next. Now, Doc, this walks us into specific policies, specific initiatives, and the assurance that the economy is resilient and we can kick off on a good start.
Let me hit the nail right on the head. I mean, these are the sentiments that I expressed earlier, and these are the sentiments that honorable Ghanaians hold. These are the queries and concerns that are being raised vis-a-vis the, if you like, purported state of the nation. Because truly what the president presented by far cannot be the true state of the nation. I am hoping that
as a minority, looking at it differently from
I am hoping that as a minority, we will present the true state of the nation. He has mentioned by and large most of the issues I mentioned earlier. So on the basis of that, you know, there's no need flogging a dead horse. I will move to talk about
other if you have other areas,
immediate issues. Okay. But it is only fair that I unveil the mask that my colleague here sought to pull over the eyes of Ghanaians. Nobody has said that crimes don't occur or people don't die. What we are talking about is the context. When citizens are killed by people who are being financed by state resources, and these killings are captured and it is known within the context of an election, that cannot be subsumed under everyday normal criminal activity. So when we say that the president ought to have spoken about this, it has to do with the context, and it's important. Indeed, every single president that we have had, including the current president, has spoken and stated how objectionable the issue of gayism, LGBTQI+++ is, as far as our nation, our culture, our religion, our faith, and our beliefs are concerned. But we are dealing with a unique situation. This is the first time in the history of our nation where we have heard that this group of persons have had the courage, as Ghanaians would like to say, the vim, the bravado, to actually establish an office, a center, and even get members of the diplomatic community to join them in outdooring that. That had never happened. And that is why it was important that the current president, under whose watch these persons have had that boldness, as they themselves like to say, to come out of the closet, should have shown and allowed the world to know and their sponsors to understand that Ghana is no fertile ground for their activity.
Now, Doc,
so that's the context.
The president spoke about
we are speaking about
the health sector.
No, I'll talk about that, but it is important that I wanted to demonstrate that yes, all these issues do exist. They were happening in the past, but they have heightened. They have come into prominence in a way that we had never seen before. And on the basis of that, the person in charge of affairs at the present moment ought to have also acted above and beyond what his predecessors had done. This is what I am saying. Now, the issues. You notice that the president won his first tenure on the back of coming to fight corruption. But over time, he has superintended over several scandals, several acts that many of us believe, if not for the inability of our independent state institutions and agencies to do their work diligently, many of his former and current appointees should be serving jail term. On the basis of that, you see that yesterday there was hardly a mention of corruption, the fight against corruption, what measures practically were going to be implemented to fight corruption. Simply, the president, he ducked because he knows at the end of the day, if he were to push that envelope, obviously the buck would stop with him. So there was no conversation, no indication, no clear-cut strategy about the fight against corruption. We all know that we have been privileged to have had until recently one of the best public servants that this country can boast of, in the person of the now falsely retired Auditor General, Yao Domlevo, who was doing excellent work. As a member of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, I have interacted with different Auditor Generals. I have seen different audit reports, and I can tell you, this was the man who was hailed by even the current president at the time in opposition. His work was so attractive. he garnered support from across almost every single civil society that was in the area of fighting corruption. Hailed him. You remember, on the basis of his work, Occupy Ghana even went to court, where the court affirmed and clarified the powers of the Auditor General to surcharge, and he had started implementing that. But woe befell him when he had the courage and indeed audacity to exercise his constitutional mandate by raising a finger against then Senior Minister Yawosafo Mafo in relation to the Kroll and Associates deal, a company that was paid a whooping $100 million.
You're wrapping up on your 5 minutes.
$100 million for no work done, and that was the beginning of his woes. Since then, not only has he been witch hunted, but every single scheme, plot, and mechanism was brought into being. And today,
he's out.
The man that we all believed was doing a good job, who was hailed, who had protected the public purse, who we knew was even going to protect the public purse further,
it's no more in office.
It's no more. So was the fate of my own good uncle.
And who was
the
that?
Citizen vigilante.
Martin Amidu.
Martin, a.k.a. Alamisi. He is actually a Butsa man. And he does it the Butsa way. He says it the way it was. Ejapa and other deals were rotten, smelly, stinky. He spoke out. Today, he has also been compelled to leave. So the president has not been able to fight corruption in the last 4 years, and the indication in the State of the Nation's address, the first one of his second procured tenure.
It was not satisfactory.
His second procured tenure.
The wind out of your sail to find a way of
is an indication
of stopping you.
If Ghanaians thought that it was bad in the last 4 years in terms of the corruption that had inundated this country, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be worse.
So, Doc, you have done about 6 minutes. So I'll add one to his. Nana, when the lecturer spoke, he suggested that we have issues about the economy. We are not being factual. He raised issues about the posture and issues that actually will heal hearts. And Doc, in his submission, is also suggesting that the fight against corruption seems to be missing. How do you respond to some of these issues?
Okay, so in trust, all that I will say is that what Honorable Clement Apak said was that he has nothing useful to add to what, like the lecturer said, that is Jonathan Ochre. So in all in all, it's like he does agree with him. Now, why a lecturer made a statement to the effect that a Supreme Court that is too legalistic, we don't go to court to go and preach about morality. That is it. We don't go to court to preach about morality. It's about the principles of legalities. You understand what I'm saying? So when you say that the Supreme Court is being too legalistic, I would say I give thumbs up to the Supreme Court for being legalistic, because it's about the principles of law. If we had said the other way, that the Supreme Court that is only preaching or indicating morals or teaching or preaching morality, that is where I would have a bit of a difficulty. Now, on the issue of he making mention of the fact that the CJ did not allow other justices of the Supreme Court to write their judgment, I don't know whether or not he had ever seen a judgment before. Whatever the bench write, it is fused into one. You get it? That is how come they will say that this man said this. What everyone said is part of the document. I don't know where he got this information from. And I beg to differ if indeed he's a lecturer or he's a politician. You understand what I'm saying?
He's a known, respected lecturer.
Yes, and I'm also adding whether or not he's also a politician at the same time.
Because he's not here, we should at least offer him that respect. What I know is that he's a lecturer.
Okay.
And
but before
one thing that we should try to avoid if we want to move on as a people is that we seem to push those in academia out the moment we start tagging them, depending on where their opinion is.
Well, Eric, my good senior brother, Honorable Clement Apak, was also in the field of academia, and he shifted into
politics.
I don't know whether he's still lecturing or something. That is how he started.
No, but I made my choice.
Oh yes, I know, Honorable. I'm not begrudging you on that. You see, so the fact is, what Jonathan Otchere said or submitted or made mention of, clearly you could see the lens that he had on him making that particular submission. Because you could not, from where I sit, I didn't see anything, let's say, anything neutral or something. Honorable also saw something, maybe he would say he saw that neutrality in his speech because it inured to his benefit. And the issue of His Excellency superintending over corruption, where Honorable Clement Apak made mention of the fact that the man he said he's a Bunsa man, and he says it as how it is. So by that particular submission, am I clear or am I right in admitting that whatever the man said about His Excellency John Mahama on the Airbus scandal, it is also true, and we should just take it like that?
Did you read his own statement about how the Airbus scandal came about and conversations that led to how it entered the public domain? Because I remember I read something about a conversation that gave a timeline that after the election of John Mahama as candidate, that issue could come up. I don't know if you are privy to it.
And brother,
so that we don't leave it out of context.
As we sit here, do you think if Mr. Martin, aka Mr. Martin Amidu, should he have been in power, or should he have still been the Auditor General, the Special Prosecutor, the two of us would have gotten that kind of free, let's say, would have gotten that leverage, as in he giving us that particular free rule that whatever we are into or whatever election we are about entering, we should go in and later on come out. This same man, that Honorable is praising. Oh no, you said you like he's a Bunsa man and he says it as how it is. What are you doing? Yes, you are praising him.
When he
this same man.
Parliament's appointment committee, the allegations he made against former president was substantiated.
And I'll show you how he was also not able to substantiate the Kroll and Associates case with.
I'm mixing the two.
I'm coming.
It is Domelevo.
Oh yeah, Domelevo. I will come there. So I will also indicate that particular submission. You see, when the same man that you are praising, that he's a Bunsa man, and I don't know whether you're also a Bunsa man, that you are.
He's the MP for Bunsa South.
Oh, so in a way, it suggests that he's praising him. That honorable.
It doesn't suggest.
You say, okay, honorable, you let me make my submission. You say, he says it as how it is. What did His Excellency John Dramani Mahama do to him? He insulted him just like that. That the man is not to use it's early morning. I don't want to use that word. Now back to the issue of Domelevo. Last week I was here with Honorable Murtala Mohammed. And I made a statement to the effect that we are looking at the substance, not even the form. Now, come to think of it. This man enters or fills a form, suggests a particular date, that this is his date of birth. There are laws. When one wants to change his date of birth, or there are processes that one would have to go through. Ask yourself whether or not those processes, Domelevo or something went in. Now, on the issue of this Kroll and Associate thing, I think the same man did that too. Is this Sylvester?
Sylvester Mensah.
Yes, Sylvester Mensah.
NHIA former boss.
He took him to court. And he won the case. Because this man is just quick to level, let's say, charges against you. This same Kroll and Associate, about this $100 million deal that Honorable Clement Apak is making mention of. When the senior minister took him to court, the court ruled in favor of the senior minister. Are you therefore saying that the court, or that, like let's say, the senior minister went in to bribe the court for the court to rule in his favor? When Domelevo was even called upon to bring documents to substantiate his allegation, he asks of time. Somebody who had even initiated so on what basis did you level those charges against the senior minister? He couldn't even substantiate it. So by that same extension, when Martin Amidu took His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to court, and he couldn't, when he appeared before, you said he appeared before the public account committee, the appointment committee or something. He couldn't substantiate it. So that same extension, the Auditor General could not substantiate.
Okay, so we have about 8 minutes to wrap up. So now let me ask
I'm coming. When we talk about corruption, my brother, when we talk about corruption, you cannot tell me that you can find anything directly linked, as in directly linked to His Excellency the President Akufo-Addo, in line with corruption. But here and I know there were so many things which was associated with His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Talk about that. I'm coming in terms of the bus branding. In terms of the bus branding.
And John Mahama was mentioned as somebody who was directly involved.
Okay, let me come. When we talk about the bus branding, my brother, how much does it cost to do this bus branding? How much would it even cost? Yes. What was the relationship between His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and that lady in question?
Is there any relationship you know?
Not a morals relationship. I'm not suggesting that.
Asking this question was that your premise says that there's nothing that can be linked to the current president as far as corruption is concerned.
Yes.
But I believe that you are aware that people have made reference to his family members, his cronies, who are directly involved, his cousins or his nephews who are directly involved in the JEPA deal. In the Mary, we had PDS, we had conversations about what has gone on and has been made public. And so if you make that reference that he cannot be directly involved, and you bring in Bas Brandon and you want to link it to John Mahama, I don't think that would be fair to John Mahama.
It wasn't only about the Bas Brandon. There were so many things, but you held me on that bay. That hasn't. You see, I can also make mention of this Ford issue where a contract was awarded this gentleman. And
okay, so let's forget about all the complaints. In 2 minutes, what are the positives in there that Ghanaians must take away from SONA? Of all the complaints and the arguments we have had, let's talk about what you can refer to.
One thing that I will tell Ghanaians is this. From the word go, I am not an economist, but when it comes to the area of law, I can speak to. But the fact still remains that a basic economic student, a first-year economic student would be able to know this. Where, indeed, the NDCs go on this tangent. There's this borrowing and what have you. But let me tell you this thing. Have you ever heard the NDCs making mention of the fact that we went in to borrow an amount of money? Whoever borrows in cedis will borrow in what? Dollar. When His Excellency John Atta Mills was leaving, he left a debt of about $20 billion. But when we came in, I said, I'm looking for somebody to argue or debate him on the issue of the banking sector. We had to go in this Eurobond to what? Clean the mess in the banking sector. Before one get a license to operate a bank, relative to the new act, that's the Companies Act, Form 4 of Act 179 talks about solemn declaration solemn declaration of stated minimum capital. Ask them whether or not they were able to meet that particular threshold. I have here a document which was a speech which was delivered by His Excellency Bawumia on the state of the economy, foundation of concrete or straw. Because of time, I wouldn't want to.
Yes, because we have 3 minutes and I have to give you 2. Then I'll do messages here.
Yes. Have you asked yourself where borrowing had gone up, but all these economic indicators are pointing to the positive? It is because when the MPP goes into borrow money, and we are saying that we are using it for cocoa rules, we use it for cocoa rules so that the process that comes, process that comes, I just want to end on it. Gideon, the process that comes, we use it to offset.
virtually 2 minutes left. Otherwise, Doc cannot.
Okay, all right.
Sorry to do this, but I'm being whipped to finish in time, Doc.
I like your.
If you can do one minute, if you can do, if you can do even 30 minutes.
I'll try. 30 seconds, you mean?
30 seconds.
You saw the way I was looking at
you see, Eric, I think the president.
And Doc, bear with me. 30 seconds.
Yeah, the president has spoken. We are scrutinizing what he said. The good people of Ghana will be the better judges. At least if what he has said is true, it will reflect and they will applaud him for it. On the other hand, if it is not, it will be known. Okay. And I cannot finish without making reference to the issue of not importing tomatoes. I had cause to raise it when he did his State of the Nation, the last State of the Nation's address for his previous tenure, where he said that by virtue of the success of the Planting for Food and Jobs, we no longer imported food items, including tomatoes. I called him out on it. Yesterday when he said that, I screamed and I stood up because I couldn't believe that he was making...
He's one of those who were saying
he was
most
definitely.
But Doc,
just as a former chief vandal, obviously.
Of course.
And as somebody, who knew that he was not being truthful, I had to. I erupted in sudden shock. Because
and that ended in the
to have
no problem
robberies, people being killed, women being harassed and raped,
Doc,
for going to Burkina Faso to bring tomatoes.
Doc,
and you tell us that we don't import tomatoes.
Those who have sent
I leave that to the better judgment of
today is one of your bosses' birthday, Samuel Ofosu.
Oh, chairman.
Today is his birthday.
Chairman, happy birthday.
He's a personal friend.
Oh, okay.
So I want to use our platform to say thank you to Samuel Ofosu.
And may he live long.
The chairman of the
NDC.
May his
reign be great.
I can hear from the background signals that we should. This one, I'll read a few text messages. This one says, TVXYZ, Wizard TV, we are so grateful. We are happy that Nana Bediakun is also joining the conversation, which is very healthy. This one says, Eben from Kwabenya, Mr. President, Akufo-Addo, dear, nothing new. Is the old usual eloquent speaking, grammar and politics you do every time. We don't have time, but it goes on to talk about birthday wishes to Samuel Ofosu. Mustafa Loa Manya Krobo. I was expecting the president to comment on the state of the national debt as compared to 2017. And he said, my regards to Honorable Davido and Honorable Bismarck Tete. This text message is coming from Osheba Amnesty Gos Zongo. It says, yesterday's Sona clearly shows that the President Addo is indeed a reliable leader because he has good policies that will help the country to grow. Two more. This one says, correct score, Zakaria from Sunya. He says, it was a bizarre night that insecurity led to 8 deaths and functionalized elections. The suspense, the president could not console the bereaved family, and he talks about LGBTQ. And the last one says, good morning, TVXYZ. The State of the Nation address lacks substance and must be considered as a poem. Francis Kofi from Lower Manya. I couldn't read many of your messages. Time is up. It's 9 o'clock. Nana Bediako Dansa Apia is a member of the NPP communications team. And then Dr. Clement Apak is also the MP for Bulsa South, a former chief vandal. And of course, I believe the all be lie, or is it all
be lie,
all lie be lie or whatever. That's how we wrap up. So Gideon, happy birthday again, and take your rice water and kose. Abna, on behalf of Abna, goodbye.